Welcome, historians and storytellers, to a profound chapter in the legacy of a hero. The annals of history are filled with tales of courage, duty, and sacrifice, but seldom do they recount a miracle born from grief and loyalty. Today, we're not just observing a funeral. We are witnessing the pivotal moment where an animal's instinct became a final, desperate message. A message that would lead to a discovery so staggering it defied every expectation of life and death. The truth behind a dog's frantic barking would challenge the very concept of a final goodbye. Before we delve into this incredible account, we invite you to become a part of our global community. Tell us in the comments below, from which city and country are you watching this? Your contribution helps us connect stories from the past with people all over the world. By liking this video and subscribing to our channel, Wild Echo Untold, you ensure that these crucial moments in history are preserved for future generations. Our story begins in the solemn stillness of a funeral chapel, a place where history is marked by quiet finality. The hero being laid to rest was Officer Daniel Granger, a man whose life was a testament to courage and unwavering dedication. As a decorated canine officer, he was not just respected by his colleagues, he was revered as a husband, a friend, and an exceptional partner to his loyal companion, a majestic German Shepherd named Rex. Rex, in his black police vest, sat at the foot of the casket. His presence was both a final honor and a deeply personal expression of loss, a bond forged in shared missions and unspoken understanding. The air in the chapel was thick with a respectful silence, broken only by the soft rustle of clothing and the occasional muffled sniffle. But soon, this historical moment of farewell would be interrupted by a new sound, one that would change the course of the day. Rex, who had been sitting with a stoic and somber dignity, let out a low, almost imperceptible whine. It was followed by a soft, mournful bark, a sound that everyone initially attributed to grief. They had seen canine dogs mourn their partners before. The consensus was that Rex was simply confused and distressed by the absence of Daniel's familiar voice, lost in the sea of unfamiliar faces. However, the historical record shows that this moment was not about grief alone. Rex's behavior underwent a dramatic shift, a pivot from sorrow to something else entirely. His posture, once relaxed, became rigid. His ears pricked up, his tail stiffened, and his eyes fixed on the polished wood of the casket with an unsettling intensity. A deep growl, a sound of profound purpose rather than sadness, rumbled from his chest. Suddenly, his barks grew louder and sharper, an incessant, desperate echo that reverberated through the chapel, silencing the quiet mourners. It was not a cry of sorrow, it was a warning. The historical record of that day shows a clear and decisive turning point. The initial murmurs of confusion quickly escalated to unease as Rex's frantic barking continued, echoing through the chapel. People shifted uncomfortably, their attempts to return to the solemnity of the moment now impossible. Most still believed it was the stress of the moment, a physical manifestation of grief. But in the pews sat those who had worked with canine dogs for years, veteran officers who understood the silent language of their partners. To them, Rex's behavior wasn't a show of panic or fear. It was something far more specific, something chillingly familiar. Officer Bryant, one of Daniel's closest colleagues, was the first to recognize the truth. He saw past the sorrow and focused on the raw, professional intensity in Rex's posture. This wasn't grief. It was alertness. It was the same kind of unwavering focus a working dog displays when he's on a scent, when he's located a missing person, or when he's signaling the presence of an unknown danger. Rex wasn't mourning, he was working. He was communicating. Understanding this, Bryant stood up and walked over to the casket. "Easy, boy," he said softly, crouching down and placing a hand on Rex's neck. But Rex didn't flinch or growl in response. His barking sharpened, this time directed with pinpoint precision at the base of the coffin, as if to say, the answer is right here. The puzzle began to unfold in a series of small, deliberate actions that would be forever immortalized by those who were there. Rex stopped his frantic barking and began to pace in tight circles around the casket, his nose sniffing along its edges. His tail, once rigid, now wagged cautiously, a sign of both focus and a strange paternal concern. He returned to the same spot he had been barking at, pausing to tap at the polished wood with his paw. In that brief moment of silence, Officer Bryant's ears caught a sound that was impossible to ignore. It was an almost imperceptible noise coming from inside the casket, a faint, muffled cry. Bryant's face, which had been pale with concern, now turned to a mask of absolute disbelief. He shot to his feet and turned to the funeral director. "Open it," he said, his voice low, but filled with an urgency that commanded attention. Gasps rippled through the mourners. The director hesitated, stammering something about the sanctity of the ceremony and the strict protocols of handling the casket. But Bryant, a man who had dedicated his life to protecting the living, was not bound by the rules of the dead. His voice grew firm. "Open the casket now." Rex, sensing the shift, let out another growl, pressing his nose to the lid. The room fell into a dead silence as the lid creaked open. What they saw nestled inside, hidden beneath Daniel's folded hands, would rewrite the history of that day forever. The air inside the chapel thickened with a profound disbelief. Every eye, from the veteran officers to the grief-stricken widow, was fixed on the sight. There, nestled beneath Officer Daniel Granger's folded hands, hidden within the folds of his uniform, was a tiny, squirming newborn puppy. Alive, the creature was no more than a few days old, its fur still damp from birth, its nose searching blindly for warmth. For a long moment, no one moved. The silence was absolute, a historical pause between a moment of loss and a breathtaking revelation. The priest, stunned into silence, crossed himself. Someone whispered, "Is this a sign?" But to Officer Bryant, the miracle was not supernatural. It was a testament to the loyalty he had just witnessed. Rex, whose frantic barking had filled the room just moments before, now let out a soft, low whimper. His tail wagged cautiously as he peered into the casket. His entire posture had shifted from frantic to protective, almost paternal. He was not grieving, he was guarding. As Officer Bryant, with hands shaking from shock, gently scooped the fragile pup from the casket, a folded piece of paper slipped from under the edge of Daniel's jacket. He picked it up, noticing Daniel's familiar handwriting on the outside. "If anything happens to me, please take care of them." The last word, "them," echoed aloud. A new gasp rippled through the room. Rex, still standing guard over the open casket, gently nuzzled the infant puppy and let out a soft bark, not of alarm, but of confirmation. The puzzle had begun to solve itself. Rex had not been reacting to grief. He had been trying to protect the pup all along. Daniel hadn't just trained Rex to obey commands. He had entrusted him with something far deeper: loyalty beyond death. The puzzle was not complete until the final piece of historical evidence was unveiled. With the room in a state of suspended belief, Officer Bryant, trying to steady his trembling hands, unfolded the worn piece of paper. The air in the chapel, once filled with grief, was now thick with anticipation. The mystery of the puppy's presence was about to be explained by the man they had all come to mourn. The letter began simply, a farewell message from beyond the grave. "If you're reading this, it means I didn't make it home." A new wave of gasps rippled through the room. Even the priest stepped back, stunned by the sheer foresight in Daniel's words. But the message continued, offering a revelation that would rewrite their understanding of a hero's final moments. "But if Rex is still with you, and if by some miracle she made it too, then please know this wasn't an accident. I knew she was coming." The historical context of the event began to clarify itself. Daniel had known of the puppy's existence, a secret he had kept, not out of secrecy, but out of a need to protect a life he had yet to meet. The letter continued, its words a profound testament to the unspoken bond between a man and his canine partner. "I kept it a secret because I didn't want anyone to panic or try to stop me. Rex and I, well, we've seen things most can't understand, but we always understood each other.
Officer Bryant's voice choked with emotion, but he continued, his words a final message to the living from the dead. She was born the night I went missing, in the cold, alone. Rex didn't leave my side, not even when he had the chance to run. He stayed, he guarded, and when I closed my eyes for the last time, I only hoped someone would hear him bark. The crowd broke down, tears now flowing not just for a fallen hero, but for the depth of his love and the fierce loyalty of his dog. The frantic barking, which had once seemed a chaotic sign of grief, was now understood for what it truly was: a final message, a cry for help, a guardian's alarm. Daniel's final mission wasn't about himself. It had been about protecting a life he'd barely met, and he had entrusted his most loyal partner to make sure that life wasn't forgotten.
The puzzle was solved, but the story was not yet complete. The final chapter in this historical record would be written by a tiny, nameless puppy, and the future she was now destined to have. Later that evening, as the sun dipped low, a nurse who'd been attending the funeral arrived at the precinct's K-9 office. After a thorough examination, she delivered a verdict that felt like the final miracle in a day full of them. Despite the freezing temperatures inside the coffin, the dehydration, and the trauma of its birth, the puppy would survive. "It's a miracle," she whispered, her eyes glistening. In that quiet office, a new purpose was born. Rex, whose frantic barks had once echoed through the chapel, now sat silently beside the crib, holding the tiny bundle. His usual stiffness had melted away, replaced by a calm, protective demeanor no one had ever seen in him before. His entire being was focused on this new life. Officers passed by, shaking their heads in disbelief, some stopping just to sit beside him, in silent communion with a loyalty they now understood was profound and limitless. Then Amanda, Daniel's widow, arrived. She held her husband's final letter tightly in her hand. She knelt beside Rex, tears streaming freely down her face. "He knew," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He knew she'd need you." She gently stroked Rex's head, and the great dog leaned into her touch, his body still and his eyes soft. It was in this moment that the puzzle of Daniel's final mission found its true resolution. He had never stopped protecting, not even in death. With the emotional weight of the day settled, the department made a unanimous and compassionate decision. The puppy would stay with Amanda and Rex. She would grow up not only surrounded by love, but with a living piece of her father watching over her every day. And Rex, who had lost his partner, had found a new purpose. He hadn't barked out of fear or grief. He had barked because life still remained. A legacy entrusted to him by a friend who understood that a bond of loyalty could transcend even death itself. Dear friend, the story of Officer Daniel Granger and Rex is a powerful testament to the unspoken language of loyalty and the enduring legacy of a hero. It teaches us that even in the darkest moments of farewell, a new life can emerge, guided by faith and protected by an unbreakable bond. This is the kind of true story we are dedicated to sharing. If you were moved by this incredible account, please subscribe to our channel, Wild Echo Untold, so you don't miss another chapter in the living history of our world. What did you think of today's story? Share your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. We would love to hear from you.